It's May 25th, 1934, and the hallowed grounds of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway are echoing with the sounds of a horrible accident. In the moments after, the garage slowly realizes the gravity of the situation. Six-time Indy starter Peter Kreis was dead, and his riding mechanic Bob Hahn was mortally wounded, dying just minutes later. At first look, it appeared like a tragic accident and nothing more. But soon enough, people began to look a little deeper. It slowly became apparent that this was no accident. It was racing suicide. Albert Jacob Kreis, or as he preferred to be addressed Pete Kreis, was born on January 19, 1900 in Knoxville, Tennessee. He was the youngest of three sons to John and Ida Kreis. His family was well known in the Knoxville area, and Pete himself would go on to be well known as well. With a strong interest in engineering, Pete went to school to become a construction engineer and contractor. It was this line of work where Pete would collect a sizable amount of money which allowed him to pursue his racing dreams. Pete would make his first Indy start in 1925, where he started 9th and finished 8th. Unfortunately for Pete, his 1926 attempt at the race was derailed after he became sick during the month. The Miller chassis entered by Kreis would eventually be driven by rookie Frank Lockhart, who as a rookie scored the victory in that year's Indy 500. Pete returned as a driver in 1927, but sadly Pete would never finish another 500. He broke a front axle in 1927, then had engine issues the following 2 years. Pete would retire yet again at his last 2 starts in the race, with Kreis crashing in 1932 and breaking the universal joint in 1933. Pete certainly wasn't a slow driver, starting better than 20th in every year he raced at Indy, but despite that, his struggles in Indy affected him dearly. He felt as if his racing days were nearly over, and was deeply affected by his lack of success. He was determined to win the Indy 500, and even said to his family before he left Tennessee before the 1934 month of May, "I will win Indy or come home in a pine box." On the Friday before the race, Pete hit the turn 1 wall practically head-on at 90 miles an hour. The car mounted the barrier and slid for nearly 200 yards before going down a 20-foot embankment, the car coming to a rest after hitting a tree. Pete Kreis was killed instantly in the crash, whilst riding mechanic Bob Hahn was fatally injured, dying moments after he was pulled from the wreckage. But almost immediately, something didn't seem right. There were no skid marks on track, and no cars nearby that would have sent him into the wall. A later investigation would show that nothing broke on the car that would have led to the accident either. At autopsy, there were no pre-existing conditions, nor was he under the influence of any drugs or alcohol. He was also reported to be alert and healthy before he went out on track for the last time. In the months after the accident, pundits nationwide considered the accident to be the strangest one in the early history of auto racing. But as the years have gone by, Pete's family have looked into this a bit more, and they've made their own conclusions. A Virginia man by the name Bill Walker is a distant relative of Kreis. Kreis was Walker's second cousin. Bill has spent the last 50 years getting down to the bottom of what happened that day, and it's a 300-page manuscript titled The Last Lap, the death drive of Pete Kreis at the Indianapolis 500, in which he goes over Pete's career and also explains why he believed that Pete committed suicide that day. In this manuscript, Bill details the story he was told by Pete's sister Hazel in 1986, less than a year before her death. Pete had bought a diamond ring at some point before May in 1934, and had it with him the day he died. But before he went out onto the racetrack for the last time, Pete gave his lead mechanic the ring, and said that if anything happened to him, he needed to give the ring to Pete's younger sister Hazel. The mechanic and Kreis then shook hands before Pete went out on track, never to return. Strange behaviors like that, along with the nature of the crash and the context surrounding his life at the time, add credence to Walker's claims. Being outside the family, I feel like it would be inappropriate to say what I personally believe happened. But if you'd like to learn more about this case, there is a way to do so. This video isn't sponsored by Bill or anyone associated with him, but if you're interested, his book about this case is available on Amazon if you'd like to read it for yourself. Pete Kreis is interred at Asbury Cemetery in Knoxville, Tennessee. He was 34 years old at the time of his death.